Hello, 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 hello. Hello, Soul Tribe. Hello, Soul Family. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We'll give it just a few minutes to have people join us. We'll give it 5 to 10 minutes. All right. Oh, Spirit of God is upon me. Oh, Spirit of God is upon me. Oh, I'm picking away my things here whilst we're waiting for people. Spirit of God is upon me. Oh, 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 Spirit of God is upon me. Let's plug our nice feather nicely there. Oh, Spirit of God is upon me. Oh, Spirit of God is upon. I have to tell you, Sundays are actually usually one of my busy days. Sundays is usually one of my busy days. And yeah, so I got up to a few things, and now by the time that I'm doing this recording, by the time that I'm doing this live, it's like I'm feeling it. But I said I'm gonna do it because I want to test this whole thing. Like, I want to see if this is something that I can actually do, to just keep going online every day for a little while, and then I want to see how, if I were to do it, how that would how I would go about doing it, right? Oh, Spirit of God is upon me. We just wait, just literally 2 minutes or so, 2-3 minutes, so you can get yourself all relaxed, get yourself a drink, get your questions and comments ready, just as we are busy waiting for 1 or 2 minutes to see who else is joining us. You are welcome. You are welcome. Have a sit, relax. Have a sit and relax. I'm having my water here. Get yourself some water. Get yourself whatever it is that you're drinking there. And just, you are welcome as we go along to comment, to ask questions. This is a live somewhat discussion, whatever you want to call it. Spirit of God is upon me. Oh, Spirit of God is upon me. Oh, Spirit of God is upon me. Oh, Spirit of God is upon me. Mm-hmm. 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 All right, I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna start now. All right. before I do that, I just want to just bring in the presence of God. I want to center myself and I want to center the space so that we can be guided, we can be led as we do this. I didn't get a chance to do it actually before I went on live. So right hand on the center of the chest. Take a deep breath in, into the belly, and hold for a few seconds. Release slowly through the nose. Once again, deep breath in through the nose, deep into the belly. Fill the belly up with air and hold it. Release slowly through the nose. One last time, deep breath in. Fill the belly up with air and hold it. Release slowly through the nose. Right. Maria M., we're asking that you join us, that you guide us, that you lead us. You've invited us here. Say what you want to say through us. Do what you want to do through us. Have your way. And we are thanking you. In the name I am that I am. In the name of Jesus Christ. And so it is. Deep breath in. Hold it. Release slowly. All right, let's just release any stuck energy. We're going to breathe 3 sighs of relief. Second time. One last time. All right, welcome. So today we are, of course, talking about the narcissistic cult systems, right? Narcissistic institutions. Intimate and intricate narcissist institutions. We're talking about families, family systems, narcissistic family systems. We're talking about narcissistic religious systems or narcissistic religions, let's put it that way. And also, of course, spiritual groups. So these are all narcissistic cults, okay? As long as there is a narcissist there in charge of that whole system, that's a cult. And the narcissist himself, we'll say himself, but understand this, we're talking about both he and she. Okay, so it's whether it's a female narcissist or male narcissist. We are just using he for the sake of convenience. So the narcissist himself is a cult. All right. The narcissist is a cult themselves. Okay. So how is a narcissist a cult? Well, here's how it goes. And this is where you begin to understand how spiritual this whole situation is. Sam Vaknin, who's, a narcissist himself, diagnosed and everything. And he's got a channel, of course, here on YouTube. And he talks extensively about this whole topic of narcissism. And the most interesting thing about it is that when he begins to describe narcissism, he goes into spiritual territory as much as he claims himself to be an atheist, to be agnostic, or whatever it is that he describes himself. He describes himself as. Basically, he doesn't see himself believing in a higher power. He sees spirituality as magical thinking, and foolishness, I suppose, or fantasy or fairy tale thinking, those kind of things. So that's how he sees it. But whenever it is that he describes narcissism, beg your pardon, he goes into the spiritual territory, which I find very interesting. And so he describes this better than anyone I know when it comes to the nature of narcissism and the cult-like nature of narcissism. And so this is not what he says word for word, but he says something to this effect. And so really this is my take, and I'm drawing it from the little bit of information that I've gotten from looking at his videos. And so the narcissist is a cult in that the narcissist has sacrificed himself. You see, so this is once again how you begin to understand that you are dealing with a spiritual phenomenon. All right. So the narcissist has sacrificed himself, okay, because the narcissist has deemed his true self to be so, how do we put this? To be so unworthy, so rejected, so horrible. So I'm not getting the right word to describe this, but so it's basically it's something that is detestable to the narcissist, the true self, the authentic self. The narcissist has rejected this because he deems it to be something that is far beneath what he should be as the narcissist. So he has rejected this authentic self. And so what has he done? In place of embracing the authentic self, he has instead embraced a false image. All right. So the narcissist has embraced a false image, a false persona, a mask, a facade, a fantasy, an illusion. So this thing that the narcissist has now embraced, it can never ever really and truly be the narcissist, because you can fool anyone and everyone. You can even fool yourself, but you cannot fool God. So the narcissist can never ever really and truly be this image that they have projected, upon themselves. And so what happens is that in order to be able to convince himself that he has successfully managed to take on this false, the narcissist needs to recruit everyone else around him to embrace that image as well. So in actual fact, the narcissist, and he expects everyone else to worship this false self. You understand? So this is a religion. This is a cult. Because this false self of the narcissist is a cruel and evil master. He accepts nothing less than perfection from the narcissist in terms of the worship, the adulation. And he also demands human sacrifice. The first sacrifice and most important sacrifice that the narcissist has ever had to make to this God of his is himself, his true self. So the narcissist has paid this price to this false self to keep the false self appeased, because if the narcissist does not make such kind of human sacrifice to the false self, then this false self, aka the god, the demonic god, the satanic god, it turns on the narcissist and begins to, eat up at the narcissist. And how does it do it? It causes this so-called mortification or collapse or something to that effect. So it injures basically you have demons tormenting the narcissist. So we will say that this false self, this demonic satanic god, begins to beat up at the narcissist by tormenting him with his demons. Of course, so then it will be all of that. You are so horrible, you are evil, you are stupid, you are nothing, you are all of those things that has basically all the horrible labels that have been attached to the true self, all those reasons why the true self has been rejected. They're always a threat to the narcissist, this is what the demon, the false god, uses against the narcissist. It's always that looming threat. If you don't do what I expect you to do, then we will put you back in that position where we remind you how useless you are, how stupid you are, how empty you are, how much of a nothing you are, how broken, shut, all those horrible things that, you know, the narcissist sees himself as being his true self, right? So that's the premise of the narcissist. So the narcissist is not a real self. The real self has been rejected and cast to some corner somewhere. You are dealing with a shell of an entity. And this shell of an entity, you could pretty much say it's a demon itself. All right. So this demon, so the soul has taken on demonic entities. And these demonic entities, they seek to, you know, find their own existence through the narcissist by serving a higher power, which is, we will call it the demonic overlord. That's the false god of the narcissist. And so what is required is that there's constant, there's a constant supply of human sacrifice to the false god of the narcissist. All right. So that's that. I hope we have that foundation clear. Okay. So it's a one-man cult, first and foremost, that we are dealing with. So whenever it is that you come across a narcissist, you're not really dealing with many people, pardon, you are not really dealing with one person, but you are rather dealing with many people, a group, but it's not people per se, it's entities, demonic entities. You are dealing with a legion of demons that worship an overlord. And the overlord is the false self. The question is, where is this image of the false self coming from? Who is providing this image? That's a higher demon. That's one that's above the rest of them. You understand? If you go a little bit into, you know, the spiritual, how do I put it, structure that I sometimes throw in a little bit whenever it is that I do my videos, I will tell you that we've got in the spirit realm, of course, in the dark aspects of life, we've got the demonic, you know, entities, demons, spirits, right? And then we've got fallen angels, and then we've got half human and half God type of entities there. So when we are talking about, you know, those dark entities in the spirit realms, we've got these demons are lower ranking demons, right? So, you know, this demon of pride, demon of this and that, those are lower ranking entities. But then above them, they are fallen angels. So those are the gods of the narcissist. All right. So those are the gods. Those are the ones that will then be demanding worship from this lower level entities. Okay. So when you're coming across a narcissist, you're not really dealing with one person. You are dealing with a legion of demons. You are dealing with a cult, like it's a group of entities. How this gentleman, Richard Grennan, you know, of course, you know, because these people are not, you know, spiritual people and so forth. So he will say that when you are dealing with a narcissist, you are really dealing with this entity that's like a machine of sorts, you know, like those machines in the movie The Matrix. Whenever it is that they come across you, it's like nanobots. That's what he calls them, nanobots, you know. So that's a technological you know, description of demonic entities, you understand, nanobots. And then so whenever it is that they see you, they are able to very quickly determine what it is that this person would need for them to basically be recruited into the cult. And so they very quickly and, you know, almost immediately transform themselves into whatever it is that they know you know, that they know will work to recruit you into that cult. You understand? So they're able to say what you need to hear. They're able to transform their whole persona basically into what will work to lure you in. Okay, so that's a cult. That's a cult, and it's serving one master, and the master is the false image. But really, that false image is a demon. Okay, it's a demon, and we'll continue and we'll see if we'll be able to get even deeper with regards to that. But okay, fine. So we've set our foundation. Let's move on. So now, when it comes to a narcissistic family, a narcissistic spiritual group, or a narcissistic religion, which is, they're all cults. So we'll say, when it comes to a narcissistic cult, what is happening there is that the narcissist, the person, the physical entity that we are seeing, seeks to recruit people because, remember, he needs to feed his God with human sacrifice. All right. So this is the origin of human sacrifice. Okay. So of course, having been around from a spiritual perspective, and hanging around a lot of spiritual people and all of that in my spiritual journey, there are certain people, especially in these narcissistic forums, that will be saying things like, human sacrifice is something that we've always been doing. That's what they will say. They'll say humans are atrocious. There's this upside down perspective about our history, this conventional history. And then that conventional history says, of course, we were, very stupid. We were living in the Iron Ages in caves and things like that. And then we discovered the eggs, and then we discovered whatever it is that we discovered. And that's not true. Okay, that's not accurate. All right. So whatever it is that would have happened for human beings to have reached that state would have been, and I really don't believe that human beings actually reached that stage at any point in time. I do believe that there are human beings that found themselves in that place, like, for example, the people in the Amazons and all of that. Okay, fine. But that's not necessarily how every human being has been operating. There was Atlantis, like there was Atlantis. So that speaks to a higher place that we once occupied. So where those people in the Amazons and the Aboriginals, and even with us Africans here in Africa, how we were found, with the, what do you call this? I need to use my headsets to make sure that there's no sounds just seeping through. So how we were found, the way that we were found, it has nothing to do with the fact that we were actually, like that was the beginning of our history. That's where we come from. But rather, this has to do with where we had fallen to. It was as a result of a fall that we had found ourselves in that state. Yes, there was Lemuria before Atlantis. And Lemuria was a little bit like, human beings living in a forest type of a setting and so on and so forth. But we were not the same type of people that we are now. All right. So we were more ethereal, and we were so different from where we are now, like from how we are now. So everything about then was completely different. So once Lemuria passed, we entered into Atlantis. And Atlantis, there you're talking about, that's where all these big buildings are coming from that no one is able to explain. Okay, and the reason why there seems to be a mud situation going on around it has to do with the fact that, of course, the earth has been changing. And yes, there's been floods, and there's been a great flood as well. So, but the earth has been changing, and we ourselves have been transforming, because even then still, we are not the same people that were in Atlantis. We were different then. Like everything about us was different then. All right. Even the atmosphere, if you were to remember Atlantis now, you will think that you are remembering another planet. You understand? Like, if you look around you, you will think it's another planet. I've had visions and memories of for example, Mars. I know of all the places, and it feels and looks like another planet. It's like I was convinced for a few minutes that it was another planet, until like the guides had to correct me to say, no, that's actually Earth, just another timeline. And that's not the only place. There's been others. So anyway, the point here is that, how did we get here? How did we get here? So our history, okay. So we got to this place where it's like, okay, I don't know how I got here. Okay, I don't know how I got here. I don't remember, but I will get back to it. I'll come back to the point. Um, so we'll just go back to say that fine. The narcissist needs to recruit people so that, oh yeah, that's where it all comes from. That's how I went on that tangent. So then, how Atlantis fell and how Lemuria also fell, it's because of this dark stream of consciousness. All right. And so when it comes in and infiltrates humanity and basically takes over human hosts, what happens is that their consciousness begin to drop to an extent where then things like human sacrifice begin to become a thing. All right. So then all of a sudden it's like the gods need, human sacrifice. The gods need us to kill people. Okay, so that whole thing that's in the Bible about sacrifice and all of that, that's just another story for another time. But in true reality, the gods that demand human sacrifice are these demonic gods, these fallen angels. All right, because they want to pervert humanity, they want to pervert what God has created. And so then, whatever it is that was left over from Lemuria, whatever it is that was left over from Atlantis, what they did was that, they obviously were taking over. They were now the new kings and chiefs and whatever it is that they were. And so now those buildings, which were initially designed to generate energy and to assist humanity with remembering, making sure that they don't forget the whole aim of why it is that we are here on earth. Instead of those buildings and all those structures continuing to serve that particular purpose, for this demonic chiefs and whoever's, it started to become the places where human sacrifice has to be made. And then people will then start talking about it as if that's all there is to the story, that all these buildings, they were originally built for demonic worship and human sacrifice. But that's not what it was. That's not the original plan and intention. This was something that started to creep in as soon as the dark stream of consciousness began to infiltrate humanity. All right. And everything else then began to be perverted. So that's the origin of human sacrifice. And so now, as we kept, evolving as human beings to a point where people are now, intellectual, intelligent, and all of that, it's like, whoa, what's up with that human sacrifice story? We don't want anything to do with human sacrifice. That's primitive. We don't do that anymore. But they've done it for many, many years, for thousands of years. They've been doing it. You understand? And they're still doing it even now. But of course, because it's something that's taboo and it's something that's frowned upon by society, what's happening is that this dark invisible forces began to do it in another way. They've been doing it this way all along, but then now this had to be, their greatest measure of, extracting that energy that they need from human sacrifice. And how are they doing it? Through this cult system, this narcissistic cult system. All right. So the narcissist then recruits people into the cult, but what they don't know is that they are each, set up to be sacrificed to the false god as well. So with a family system, what happens is the main narcissist there, who will be the parent, typically the father or the mother or both of them, because then one of them can be a covert and another one can be an overt, and then, and then sometimes one of them, the other one is not a narcissist in any way, but they've been recruited, they've been brainwashed, so they have literally become the narcissist themselves. So the narcissist then, in a family system, the narcissist doesn't need to go out to recruit. They automatically have members by virtue of the wife. The wife has been recruited. We'll just say the wife, but it could be vice versa, right? And then there are children as well. And so these are prisoners. Every cult is, of course, run by a narcissist. And the members of that cult are not free. They are prisoners and they are not aware. The narcissistic matrix, the dark narcissistic matrix, or the narcissistic dark matrix, is a cult itself. And all the members of the cult of the narcissistic dark matrix, of which, unfortunately, to a certain extent, we are all part of it, are prisoners. All right. So they are prisoners. And so in a narcissistic family cult system, as a child and the spouse of that narcissist, you are a psychological prisoner, and then you are a financial prisoner. And then for a child, even worse, you are a prisoner in terms of space and everything else, because I mean, you are literally, at the mercy of the narcissist. You understand? So that's how it is. And then, of course, with other cults, the narcissist does need to recruit those people and does need to do a whole lot of things. So now let's break down a few points about this cult system. But before we do that, let me just make sure that I've covered all of that. So the narcissistic cult, the cult is the narcissist false image. So now everyone in the cult is required and expected to worship the narcissist's false image. All right. So if the narcissist sees himself as this amazing rock star, everyone is supposed to see him as that. And anyone who sees him otherwise will definitely be punished for that. All the members are required to worship this idol, or else, of course, literal off with your head, or, metaphorically. And then members like the cult narcissists are often sacrificed to the false image of the narcissist. So once in a while, someone needs to be sacrificed. Okay, someone's head needs to be chopped off for, the appeasement or the appeasing of the false god. Members are assigned roles by the narcissist, and of course, they are required to fulfill them without question. Okay, so in every narcissistic cult system, there's the golden child. There's always the golden child. So every narcissistic system has, a twisted, very toxic type of hierarchy, right? So there's always a parental and authoritative figure, which is the narcissist, and whoever it is that is their sidekick. And then there's a golden child. And then, of course, there's the middle ignored child, the one that no one really cares about, the one that's always trying to get attention by being the peacemaker or whatever. And then there's the scapegoat, of course. And, so this, roles can be taken by a few people, and the roles can sometimes, of course, be switched around depending on whatever it is that's going on with the narcissist. But these roles will always be there in a narcissistic setting. You understand? They will always be there, whether you're dealing with a family, whether you're dealing with a cult, a religious cult or a spiritual cult, whether you're dealing with any other system where the narcissist is in charge. That's what you are dealing with there. All right. So narcissistic families, cults, and religions, they're all the same thing. There's no difference. There's no, it's sad if you're born into a narcissistic family setting, because when you are dealing with a narcissistic religious or spiritual group, you can run away from that to a certain extent. You are an adult. But if you're a child that's born into a narcissistic situation, it's really bad, because there's no running away for you. And literally from get-go, from the cradle to whatever age that you reach before you decide to run away, all the programs that you are subject to are narcissistic. One of the most painful things that I've had to deal with myself growing up in a narcissistic environment, narcissistic society, narcissistic dark matrix, is that I had to realize how that in so many ways I was actually thinking like narcissists, because that's all I knew. I didn't know any different. All right. So there are so many ways that I saw myself and life from a narcissistic perspective, which is typically, very critical, very horrible. I mean, it's upside down, twisted, it's distorted in every way possible. And the work of having to do that level of damage, in a person's psyche, that's no child's play. That's no child's play whatsoever. All right. So we spoke about, so here's what's happening there in that narcissistic family, right? So parental figures are really leaders, okay? And then children, of course, are followers. They are not really children, they are followers. It's like, you do what I say, you do as I say. There's no, that the relationship is not healthy in any way between the parent and the child. And then, of course, children and followers are prisoners. And of course, this narcissistic leader has God status. All right. So they worship their God and they expect you to worship that God, but how you worship their God is by worshiping them. Okay. And of course, dissension or dissent is met with, punishment. And then there's always that looming fear of ostracization, right? The narcissist will abandon you, the narcissist will ostracize you, the narcissist will cast you away whenever it is that you do not align to the worship of his false god. And then of course followers and children, which are the same thing, they're pitted against each other. Everyone is trying to fight for that position of being favored by the narcissist, isn't it? And then parents or leaders see followers and children as a threat and they compete with them. All right, so if you've grown up in a narcissistic environment, narcissistic family and so forth, you know that your narcissistic parent, whether it's a mother or a father figure, they were in competition with you. Like I can't tell you how many times clients and even here on YouTube, people will tell you that my own mother was competing with me, for my friends. My own mother would refuse to help me with my homework, but when my friend came through, she helped them with that homework. My mother would never even pay attention to me whenever it is that I had any issue that I needed to talk about. But whenever it is that my friends came around, they knew that they could rely on. It's like the person that my friends know and the person that I know, they are completely different people. You understand? Like this mother of mine, to me, they are someone else. Yet to my friends, they are this loving, doting, wonderful. It's like your friend would be saying things like, I really wish your mom was my mom. And you're thinking, I really wish my mom was not my mom, you know? So that's what happens when you're dealing with narcissistic parent. And of course, the same thing could be said about the narcissistic father, isn't it? So let's see. Here's a special one. Rules apply only for the members, the children, right? They don't apply for the narcissist. Okay. So they will always have this unrealistically high standards. This narcissistic cult leaders, parental figures, authority figures. They'll always have this unrealistically high standards where they are expecting everyone to do, basically you're having to do backflips and all sorts of strange things, right? Like, I mean, you are supposed to be perfect. And yet they themselves, they don't hold themselves to the same standard. For 5 minutes they might do that, but they will break those rules of theirs and they don't expect you to hold it against them, but let you break those rules that they would have set up. Okay, no one can hold a person to account like a narcissist. Narcissist will hold you to account like no one's business. But you try to hold the narcissist to account for anything, you know what's going to happen. Things are going to get very slippery. Okay, things are going to get very tantrumy. Things are going to get very stormy. And I mean, it's very, I'm laughing because what can you do? But it's really disheartening to see the kind of punishment that narcissistic parents dish out to their children. Many children ended up running away from home because of narcissistic parents. A lot of children that we sometimes are coming across in the streets, we are thinking, what's wrong with these children? They are so naughty and all of that. Not all of them are there for the reasons that we think they are there for. Some of these children are there because they ran away from narcissistic parents. Because some narcissistic parents will literally take an iron rod and start hitting their child. And the worst part is that they will be hitting that child for something that the child will probably have not even done. So they will punish you like mercilessly for breaking whatever rules that they've set up. A narcissistic parent will even stop talking to you, and yet you are their child, but they will literally ignore you for weeks, days. I think I meant to say for days, weeks. And it's like, oh, okay, this is how a parent deals with a child. Like, that's how it works. But that's how it works in a narcissistic environment, right? Let me see what else did I want to say with regards to this particular point. Okay, let's keep going. So this is another way in which the narcissistic stream of consciousness has infiltrated humanity and destroys it from within. So it's not an accident. Okay, it's not an accident that the narcissistic stream is targeting families, and it's also targeting religious or spiritual organizations. Where else would Satan, station his army? Where else? Because literally, if the narcissist gets you in your spiritual home or in your literal home, they really got you. All right, they really got you. So we'll go a little bit into that shortly. I just want to read some of these points. Children of narcissists have little to no chance of growing into successful, well-developed adults because the abuse stunts their psychological growth. Okay, so if you are born in a narcissistic environment and you are raised in a narcissistic environment, automatically you are stunted. Whether you're a narcissist or an empath or any other human being, if you are raised by a narcissist, your chance of growth is stunted, of psychological growth. Like, it's stunted because the narcissist will not allow you. Remember, this is a cult. So in a cult, members are not allowed to leave. It's a prison. The only way you leave the narcissistic cult is through death. So a strategy for you not to ever be able to exit is to psychologically damage you so that you don't know how to exist outside of the, you become dependent. So this is also why children of narcissists almost always, let's just say almost always, end up in relationships with narcissists. All right, because it becomes a vicious cycle that you cannot run away from. And so you end up failing out there in the world, and then you end up going back home to the narcissist, exactly how the narcissist wants it. And so if you don't go back, you are still stuck with the narcissist out there that you are married to. And still, the narcissist is still benefiting because from an energetic perspective, your energy of suffering is going the same direction to the same God, the demons that are in charge of the narcissistic system. All right. So followers of cults don't reach their enlightenment or any form of independence because, that was never the aim to begin with. You are not really there to experience that. That's only a sales pitch when you are told you are going to get enlightened here. There's a couple that I know here on YouTube whose name I will not mention. I followed the couple for a little while, and then very shortly stories started popping up, where they started talking about their followers, and basically they had some kind of a group thing that was going on there, and they also had their own team that they were working with there. But then this couple started saying, telling stories about how that this member did this and that. So they basically started slandering those team members of theirs here on YouTube, to say they've done this, they've done that. And then they were painting it as if,
these people are not evolving spiritually, they are not growing, they are lazy, or they are not doing their work, and all sorts of, but the way that they were putting it, they were quoting it nicely so that they themselves appeared as victims. You know how narcissists do it so well. And then, it happened with the first person, then the second person, and then the third person. They were, approaching the situation pretty much the same way. Then I started suspecting something here. I started getting a little bit concerned, wondering what's going on here. And also another thing, because there were a whole lot of other things that were pretty much red flags for me, because I can smell a narcissist from a mile away. And so I'm concerned that they are from get go. How when I first started following them, the first approach for them was things like, you have to what, to protect us as your leaders. You have to defend us. Even here on the comments, on YouTube, like whenever it is that someone starts saying something negatively about us, we shouldn't have to defend ourselves. If you are there, soul tribe, because there was the whole soul tribe thing as well. So they expected soul tribe members to basically defend them, protect them from whoever. Oh, okay, I don't know what's going on. I was like, my makeup. It's like they expected soul tribe to defend, to fight against each other to protect them. So whenever it is that someone had a negative comment against them, for example, someone would be saying, why are you the woman talking so much and not giving the men a chance to talk? And then they would be saying, soul type, how can you let someone say something like that and not defend us? And so, and then that started, clicking red flag to me. I started wondering, okay, fine, I'm going to observe these patterns. And then this whole thing of these people, how these people are not doing things right, and then they, kick them out of the team or whatever it is that had happened there. I was concerned. I was really, really concerned. And then stories started coming out where, people were really exposing them. Those team members, they basically teamed up together. And I think there were maybe about 10 of their team members came up here on YouTube and did a whole documentary that was exposing them. And I thought, oh yeah, that's exactly what I was seeing. That's exactly what I was seeing, because these people were now telling their side of the story, explaining what it is that had happened to them. And another thing that was a red flag to me was the fact that these people's so-called curriculum, it just kept, changing. And they're always bringing in all this new this new spiritual concept. It's like you were in a whirlwind of a spiritual wave of sorts. It's like today there's this thing that's happening that we are supposed to get, this new level that we need to reach. Okay, we need to reach it because this is why we are not ascending. Okay, fine. Let's try and reach that level. And then as soon as you reach it, all of a sudden there's this new level that we need to reach. And all of those things, there's money that's involved in it. Okay, there are classes that you need to sign for. There are so many things that you need to do. You need to come and be part of some festival that they are doing. Like there are things that they are basically doing, these people, and you are needing to pay, and there's always this new thing that's going on that you need to be paying for. And it's like you're not getting anywhere. By the time when I stopped, just before these documentaries came out, when I stopped following them, it was all about you guys are lazy. That's us being gaslighted now as the viewers and as Soul Tribe. You are being lazy. You should be doing this and this and that and all of that. And then there are all these dictations with regards to what you should and shouldn't be eating. Like so many things. It was crazy. And that level of chaos, that's what you find in a narcissistic family. That those people are no different from that whole setting. That's exactly how a narcissistic family is designed. Like you are lost as a child in that system. It's like you don't know whether you are coming or going. You understand? That so-called curriculum of yours that you are supposed to be following in order to be, gaining your rites of passage into the next level. Because a family is a spiritual initiation system as well. You understand? There's always a rite of passage that you are, an initiation that you are going through. The first one being the teething phase. And then the phase where you're starting to walk and doing all of that, and then where you're starting school, learning and everything, and then where you are becoming, all of those are initiations. And if you've got a narcissist as a parental figure, you are in trouble, because they will sabotage those things with all their might. And the narcissist might act like they don't know what they're doing, but at a spiritual level, the devil knows exactly what it is that they're doing. They're depriving you of an opportunity to grow. That's why if you're in a cult, you're not going to reach enlightenment. It will always be a dangling carrot in front of you, but you're not going to achieve it. There'll always be something that is found about you that is wrong. Just like if you're working for a narcissist, which is something that we're going to be touching in one of the coming lives, there's always a new system that you have to learn. Okay, there's always a new upgrading and a new up level. And it's not even about, for example, with life in general, as I just mentioned, that we go through various stages that we evolve into, and those are initiations as a human being, from a toddler to a little child to a adolescent, teenager, to young adult, to adult, and to whatever. All those things are initiation stages that you go through. That's a spiritual initiation that God himself designed. You understand? And so those are stages that you go through them. And because God is so gracious, there's usually a period of 7 years between each initiation, so that you get to learn, to collect your notes, to do whatever it is that you need to do, and then before you move on to the next level of initiation. That's how the true cosmic initiation works for humanity. But when you're dealing with a narcissist, they'll be telling you, we are initiating you. You know how they are. You know how they'll be putting all these wonderful labels on their abuse. How that they are teaching you this, how that they are helping you with this, how that they are doing this, doing a favor to you or whatever. But the thing that you will notice is that all the things that they are presenting to you, nothing is happening. And also they are happening sporadically, randomly, all together in one go. It's all chaotic. You don't get a chance to gather any information. It's like every single day you are being initiated for something that's taking another direction from whatever it is that you were being initiated into the previous day. So it's like you never know whether you are coming or going in a narcissistic system, because it's not there to build you. It's there to literally disintegrate you, to split your psyche, to shatter you. All right. And so that's what happens there with narcissistic cult. And it's the narcissist doing this. It's the narcissist doing it. Or, and of course, this whole thing, it just becomes a vicious cycle. Once this psychic programs of this level of trauma are ingrained into your system, it becomes a vicious cycle. That's why I will say to you, that narcissism is a spiritual initiatory force. I do beg your pardon. So by saying that, I'm not saying to you that narcissism is necessary, or narcissism, is something important that you should be running straight into. No, it's a spiritual initiatory force when you experience it. When you find yourself in that situation, it becomes that evil thing that God, makes to work together for your good. So it becomes something that will definitely catapult you in ways that nothing else could have ever catapulted you in this world. Because remember, this world itself, like, it's a sleeping world. It's a narcissistic dark matrix of people in sleeping pods. So you are not aware that you are in a narcissistic dark matrix and you are in a sleeping pod until you meet an actual real life narcissist and he handles you or she handles you. Then you begin to realize, oh my word, let me wake up. And then when you wake up, you realize, oh my word, this person is part of a greater system. You understand that? That's when you begin to realize that it. But if you don't have that encounter with a narcissist, you really sleep. And then even if you become awoken, like for example, I myself, I was a Christian, and I'm still a Christian, but I'm not that Christian that I was before. You understand? So I was the born again, and I'm still born again Christian, and I was basically, I was a sleeping Christian, but I was so sure that I was awake. And so what I was doing is, I was worshiping God. I was looking for God. I was painfully looking for God. All right. Like it hurts the way that I was looking for God. Even when I remember those days, like it's like, oh my word, I did seek God. I cannot believe that I had to go out of the church to find God. And I literally came to a point where Jesus Christ himself like came to me and said, oh my child, it's time to go now. It's time to get out of here because you're not going to find me there. You understand? And so I had to, find Jesus Christ outside of the church. And so, but the point is, I was sleeping whilst I was thinking that I was awake, and I was seeing everyone else, like for example, I don't know if you watched my live from yesterday. I would always mock my neighbor who was an Indian lady. Okay. And she was burning her incense and she was listening to her Indian music, her worship music. She was doing Hindi practice, spiritual practices. All right. Is it Hindu? I think it's Hindu. Yeah, it's Hindu. Okay. So she was doing her Hindu spiritual practices and she was really, just worshiping and, doing whatever it is that she was doing there. And for me, it was like, oh, this devil worship situation. Oh my God, dear Lord, let this devil worshiping people be gone from our lives. That's the vibe that I was having there until it got to a point where I, had those conversations. And it was actually shortly after, it was around that time when my neighbor was this Indian lady with her Indian chants and mantras and things like that. And and she was a kind lady, like she would come and bring us all these wonderful foods whenever it is that they were celebrating. I think it was Ramadan or something along those lines. And then so for me, it just was not eating up. I was like, this is the devil. And then Jesus Christ said to me, no, this is not where you're going to find me. Like, and I was supposed to have found Jesus Christ. I couldn't understand why I wasn't finding Jesus. Like by the time I left the whole, church situation, I had probably gone to maybe 20 churches in just 1 year, looking that just that's just how much I was, trying to find God. You understand? And so eventually I left the church setting and system and all of that, and then I accepted my initiation. I accepted my calling into the mysteries of life. All right. So I became part of, the mystery schools. Okay. And so the Christ School of Initiation, which is the Christ School of Consciousness is real. Okay. It's a real thing. And it's so sad because even this couple that I'm talking about, they like to talk about the School of Christ. They've basically cut and pasted everything that is true and they've attached it to themselves, and they are using it as a source or a means through which they extract energy. Because whatever it is that they are doing, those activities that they are getting up to there, those are very demonic. There was a time when one of their members, the one that they ended up, slandering so horribly on YouTube, there was a time when that little child was literally, walking on her hands and feet, as you know how demon possessed people walk. She was doing that, and we were watching it on YouTube. And she was talking with a very strange voice. Like, I mean, the level of trauma that that child went through, I cannot imagine. And I mean, her life was turned upside down even afterwards. So it's said that, these people are doing those kind of things. But anyway, um, they are using, Christ consciousness as a label to attach themselves to basically do whatever, pursue whatever demonic agenda they are here to pursue. It's said, but nonetheless, it doesn't take away from the fact that the Christ School of Consciousness is real. Okay. And if you're a light worker and if you are an empath, they are watching you. Okay. They are usually, they're even communicating with you. All right. And if you listen, if you listen well enough, you will hear them. Okay. And then they are always, taking you through your own unique curriculum. Okay. One that is not coming from another human being. Okay. One that is coming from the cosmic forces themselves. And then what they will do is they will put people in your path who will confirm what they have already told you. So that's the school that they took me through. and they put me through intense initiations. All right. And they made it clear when the initiations started, that was 2012. When they started, they made it very clear that I'm going through an initiation. I even had to write it down in a book. My initiation is starting now. And they took me through the curriculum. How many years later has it been now? I think it's more than 10 years. And then when everything all, came in full circle, I was able to look back to see, oh, this is why they were doing this. Oh, this is why because the whole time as I was going through those initiations, nothing was making sense. I was collecting pieces of the puzzle and I was making notes and I was learning whatever it is that I needed to learn and extracting whatever memories that I needed to extract from the cosmos. So I wasn't, it wasn't, making much sense. I thought I was losing my mind. You understand? Until everything came in full circle and it began to paint a cohesive picture. And then when the picture began to make sense, it was like, oh, so this was going there. And this one was, oh, look at that. Wow, what do you know? You understand? So the Christ School of Consciousness, that's my point, is so really, it's not even funny. And so there are invisible beings and forces that are working behind the scenes with you. Okay. And they are for you and they are assisting you with the ascension. There's so much that I could tell you about the ascension. Like, we would need about 3 hours if I were to tell you about what's happening with the ascension, what they are doing there. Okay, so there's so much false information that is being spread around, and a lot of things that appear to be all about ascension, when in fact it's just propaganda that is designed once again to keep us in those sleeping pods. And so one of the things that you want to look out for is the tone of whatever message that you are receiving. You understand? So it's one thing for someone to be passionate. For example, I have to be passionate whenever it is that I talk about the abuse that is taking place with regards to narcissism on humanity, because when you are harming humanity, you are harming me. So I'm going to be passionate about it. I'm not going to be all politically correct and all composed and everything about it. I'm not going to do that. Okay. But there is another tone that can come across as if a person is doing this so-called righteous indignation, when in fact they are just spewing demonic venom through their words, and it looks like they're trying to educate people, or it looks like they're trying to inform you, it looks like they're trying to let you know what's going on. Meanwhile, all they're doing is they are spreading negative energy. They are trying to bring you back into that pod. And how you will know it is that when you walk away from that conversation, or after talking to that person, the energy that you will be carrying, or that you will be feeling or sensing, is that energy that feels like, I might need to take a bit of a bath, or oh, that's really horrible. Any information that's trying to paint humanity as hopeless is not coming from God. Any information that's trying to paint the world and life at large as hopeless is not coming from God. Yes, the narcissistic dark matrix is hopeless because it's not of God to begin with. You understand? But there's a difference between the planet and humanity and the cosmos. There's a difference between those three and the narcissistic dark matrix and its people and its things. There is a huge difference between all of this. You understand? So many a times, these false teachers, what they do is they attach, they mix everything together, they jumble everything together. They make children of God, they paint children of God in the same brush, or with the same brush, as the children of Satan, the serpent seeds. All right. And that's not correct. So that's one thing that, everybody is clumped in together. And then they also, make the earth out to be the same as the narcissistic dark matrix. They make it as if it's the same thing. It's earth is hell and all of that. Earth is our home. Earth is not hell. Earth is our home. And earth is just a beautiful land that human beings, demonic human beings, came and started doing horrible things on it. So how is it that we are blaming the planet for what we are doing to it? And by we here, I shouldn't even be including myself, but well, I suppose I've been induced into those things because at the end of the day, I buy that meat that, they are, of course, abusing the sheep before they slaughter them. So I'm buying it. So in that way, I'm part of it. You understand? But it's not all the same thing. So humanity and the serpent seeds are not the same thing. The earth and the narcissistic dark matrix are not the same thing. God, source, spirit, Jesus Christ, and the higher entities, all the beautiful, positive, and benevolent forces that are working on the part of humanity, they are not the same as all these other demonic beings, because then, these false teachers will be telling you, they'll be talking about, and they'll be talking our language, the conspiracy theory type of language. They'll be saying, they are trying to do this and this and that to us. They don't care about us. They don't care about us. They are trying to do this and this. They've done this. They've done this to the financial system. They've done this to that and that. They've done this to our history. They've done this and all of those things. And meanwhile, this person that's saying they've done all of this and that is one of them, or is actually what you call this, their foot soldier. You understand? And you want to be aware of that. You want to be aware of that because the devil is very sly and very crafty when it comes to how he does these things. How did I get into this tangent nonetheless? How did I get there? Okay. So here in the narcissistic dark matrix, literally 1 out of 3 couples is a narcissistic couple. There's a narcissist involved in there somewhere, somehow. All right, which is unfortunately, these are my own statistics. Okay, these are my own statistics, and I got my intel. 1 out of every religious what did I write here? 1 out of every religious organization or spiritual organization. Why did I say 1 out of every? It's usually 1 out of, maybe, let's say 5. 1 out of every 5 religious organization or spiritual. It should be 3, between 3 and 5. The statistics are literally like really fighting between 3 and 5. It's like they're oscillating. Yes. My email address is available on the description link of some of my videos. And I think also in the channel home page, there is what you call this thing? There is an email address there. So the statistics are really oscillating between 3 and 5. All right, 3 and 5. 1 out of 3 and 5, 3 to 5 religious organizations, spiritual organizations, whatever, are actually cults. All right, great stuff. So that's really what you're dealing with. And once again, I wouldn't say, of course, you want to run away, you want to avoid cults. No one should go to a cult. But the sad part about the situation that we're dealing with now, which is why, to the most part, the greatest, spiritual experience you will have will often be away from people in general. Like, it will be one that you are having alone, is because even if you're not dealing with a cult, like, for example, most Roman Catholic churches, they're not really cults per se. There's a whole lot of things that are wrong with the Roman Catholic Church. Absolutely. I mean, there are so many things that are wrong with this church. All right, so we cannot run away from that. Okay, but we also cannot run away from the fact that there is a little bit of meat that you can get from there. And many times you are even safer in a Roman Catholic Church than in this born-again Christian type of situations. Because there, not only are they going to mess with your mind, but they will mess with your finances as well. And they will literally abuse you. And it's sad because that's supposed to be actually taking a step closer to God. This born-again environments, they are the ones where you are really taking a step closer to God. But in true reality, like in practical sense, in the practical sense of the whole situation, when you get there, this is where this wolf in sheep clothing are. And so even the Roman Catholic Church, you can go there, but you will still find this narcissist because they like to attach themselves to environments that are pious and righteous and holy and everything, because that's their feeding ground. All right, so go to church, as long as it's not an outright cult, as long as it's not a cult and you can see that this is a cult. Go to church, go to whatever Anglican church, whatever church that you are part of, you go there, but you are aware that there are wolves in sheep clothing there, and so you do whatever it is that's necessary to protect yourself. All right, and then also you make sure that your relationship with God is not determined by this organization, because you are not going to get God from an organization, because everything of the narcissistic dark matrix. And I promise you, if the devil can infiltrate families, and families have been infiltrated, that's why we are living in a broken world. That's why humanity is broken. And the target is the real human beings. Because narcissists and automatons have nothing to give. They've got no energy to give. But real human beings, they've got energy that these demons can feed off. So go to church and all of those things, as long as you are not going there to extract your, light, your connection with God. If you're not looking for Jesus Christ from that organization, then that's fine, go. So that you can fellowship or, be part of something, be part of a group or whatever it is, whatever benefit you are getting from a church, you can still get it. But let it not be because you are trying to connect with God, you are trying to enhance your spiritual experience and all of that. Because if you are going there with that, intention, what you are going to come across are demonic entities who are going to take advantage of every vulnerability you might be having. All right. So, why is the narcissistic stream targeting families, religions, and spiritual groups? Well, this is the heart of humanity. I mean, where else would the devil go? Where else? The two things that make or break you before anything else is the family that you are from, because this is your root chakra, isn't it? The family that you are coming from is your root chakra, is the one that establishes the health of your root chakra. So if your foundation is broken in that way, then you're not going to be able to stand up. This is why you become stunted as an adult. It's really sad. It's really anyway. So your relationship with God is how you get to connect with invisible aspects of life. Failure to do this will not have, basically, if you fail to have a relationship with God, that means you're not going to have peace. If you are truly seeking God and you are not finding Him, that will take away your peace. Because if you don't have God, how are you going to have peace? Because God is the source of peace. And we talk about, God is so amazing. When you tap into the present moment, you tap into the presence of God. Okay. Like God, like to access God is so easy. And the way it's so easy, it's so difficult as well. And it's the level of ease that makes it also, very difficult. So, but when you tap into God, and immediately when you tap into the presence of God like that, you enter into peace. You enter into God's rest, away from all the problems. It's like the problems could be there and you could be here, and it would be like, oh, Selah, peace. Okay, maybe not calmly think about it, but just peace, be still, be still and know that I am. That's what happens when you tap into the presence of God. And this is something that narcissists will want to take away from you, because narcissists will not allow you to have this moment of peace. Okay. And they will make sure that whenever it is that they are with you or they are around you, they will fiddle with your mind so much so that even when you're not around them, you are still, away from peace. Your peace is disturbed. All right. They've stirred your psychological waters. they've disturbed you. So that's how they want to do it. And so narcissistic parents do that to their children, so that if you've been raised in a narcissistic environment, what happens is that even on your own, when you've grown up and maybe you've even detached from your narcissistic parents, you are not able to be still in your mind. You're not able to be still within yourself because you are disturbed psychologically. Like there are all these voices of your narcissistic parents constantly beating up at you as if they are your own voice. All right. And so this is the aim, the root chakra, which has been messed up by this parents, and also by messing up your relationship, you know, by basically messing up your relationship with parental figures, which is them. They're messing up your relationship with life and with God in general. And then you get into the religious system and you find the very same narcissist in that religious or spiritual group. And then what happens there is that they do the very same thing. So this is why people end up committing suicide. Because where do you run to? Because how on earth are you going to be happy or at peace in life if you don't have peace? How are you going to thrive in any way if you don't have peace? It's not going to be possible. You need peace. But you can't have peace if you don't have a good relationship with your parents, especially if you haven't healed from whatever traumas you've endured as a result of whatever it is that happened between the two of you. Of course, you can't control that relationship, so you can't force it to be good or healthy, but you can decide that healthy for me is me never talking to them ever again, or whatever it is that you decide to do with it, but as long as that's health for you. All right. So I'm going to have to share some solutions here with you before I go, and I want to really go before we get to 1.5 hour. All right. So is it a coincidence that demons plague narcissists just okay, let's try that again. Is this a coincidence that demons that plague narcissists just so happen to be operating in a way that destroys humanity's relationship with each other and with God? I will say no. So these demons that are working within a narcissist, they are basically literally destroying humanity. They are destroying humanity's relationship with itself and with each other, because now you can't love anyone on the road, on the street, anyone out here in the world, because you're always worried that one of them might be a narcissist. So which means that even true human beings that really would appreciate that smile on your face, they are deprived of that because they might be a narcissist, right? So you're having to protect yourself from them, and they're also protecting themselves from you. All right. So this is just, is that a coincidence? Absolutely not. This is the satanic stream of consciousness literally destroying humanity from the root up. There's a scripture that says in the Bible, if the foundation is broken, what shall the righteous do? So narcissistic families, cults, and religious systems, they are a product of the narcissistic dark matrix, and the aim is to destroy humanity from the root up. All right. It's so unfortunate. Narcissistic cults, families, and religious systems are literally hiding spots for narcissists, okay? Because, this is where the narcissist gets to camouflage, and they even get to look good. Like, oh no, I couldn't be a horrible person. Or, the flying monkeys will be like, oh no, he's been part of our church for the past 10 years, and he always comes and cleans the chairs. He always he's the usher at the church. He's the worship leader. He couldn't harm a fly. He's such a prayerful man, and all of those things. He's a guru. He's been guruing us for however long, and all of those things. This is where they hide and camouflage. It gives the narcissist a sense of community, because this is where they gather, because they know it's their spot. They know exactly what these places are. When they go there, they are able to assess, to see what's really going on there. They know each other. They're able to identify each other. They're able to, suss things out to see, how the system actually works for them. So when they are, going there, they know that they're going to commune with like-minded individuals, other narcissists like themselves. And this is why, a lot of this evil, pastors, preachers, and gurus, majority of the time, their flying monkeys are actually other narcissists. It's not just, you know, um, innocent, unsuspecting people. It's literally other narcissists who are doing that, because they have to protect the other narcissists, because by protecting other narcissists, they are literally protecting themselves. All right. So, this kind of spaces, they give the narcissist refuge from a world that doesn't value um, narcissists. Out here in the world, narcissists don't really care about each other. They don't have any organized system of operation. So the narcissistic system, the cult or the religious group or the spiritual group, that gives the narcissist refuge, because that's where they can get that sense of belonging. They, they boost each other's egos in that kind of an environment. All right. You don't get it out here, because out here, narcissists hate each other. They call it, they just don't give each other, the time of day. But in those type of settings, that's when they literally, they just, yeah, they appease each other's demonic overlords. They are false images. Okay, so of course, in this kind of environment, they feed the narcissist ego, because they become automatically inflated by virtue of being associated with that particular organization. I'm part of this organization, I'm that, and so that definitely, makes them appear good. And then, of course, that's the kind of thing that narcissists like. Of course, there are feeding spots for narcissists, innocent children who have nowhere to run to. You know, if you are their parents, you can feed on their energy whenever it is that you want to. They can't do anything about it. They can't run away. They are stuck there. And then, of course, in a church environment also, there are so many ways that people are imprisoned psychologically in those cult type of systems. And so, of course, um, that's where narcissists get to feed, because, as long as they are pretending to be this wonderful, saintly human being, people are thinking, oh, he's so amazing. Oh, you are so amazing. Oh, brother so and so, sister so and so, you are so great. You love the Lord so much. And then all those things, all those kind of comments, the narcissist is just, what's the word? Slurping them up, right? Like just gobbling them up, because it's food to, the demons. And of course, the roles that they play in those institutions, that gives them a position, that gives them the ability to control people. And, if you're the parent, that's a position of authority. If you are the pastor, if you are the leader, the guru, the teacher, the worship leader, or whoever it is that you are, that gives you access to souls that you can then abuse and, control. And then, of course, they'll also use this kind of positions as a way to manipulate people. I'm your leader, I'm your mother, I'm your father, I'm your this, I'm your that, and therefore you shouldn't question me when I abuse you. All right. And of course, this kind of systems are also systems where these demonic human beings, they also gather and then they begin to abuse scapegoats, humans, children of God. Okay. They literally target, what's this way? They do this gang stalking thing. All right. And many a times they don't even need to have conversations about these things, because their overlords are already in communication with each other. All right. But in this kind of environments where narcissists gather together, and they gather together in family systems, where majority of the time in family systems, you'll be having a few narcissists in one family. They will be teaming up against the scapegoat. And usually that's an empath, that's a child of God. Or in the cult system, they'll be, of course, gathering together there. And all they'll be interested in is their position of power. All right. And so they will be sacrificing the scapegoat. And usually the scapegoat is a child of God. So that's really what would be happening in, this narcissistic environments. So this type of cult, the narcissistic family, the narcissistic church and spiritual group, this is where narcissists gather together, and they literally, commune and connect and organize themselves towards the fulfillment and, the pursuing of their evil agenda, the satanic agenda against children of the light. That's really what you are. Okay. And then, of course, there's something here that I wanted to say. Let me see. Okay, I do have a few minutes left, and then we're gonna close. In closing, what I wanted to say here is that I want to talk about the empath, okay, the empathy, because this is one of the things that the narcissistic dark matrix and the narcissistic environment has really painted in a very negative light. And I just want to just share a few things with regards to that, and then we'll be done. We'll really be done. It's just a few points. Okay, so why do these narcissists target empaths? Number one, they can't be programmed. Okay, like they do not hold the program. Every time they try to hold a program, the program just collapses. All right. So that's why narcissists have an issue with, the empath. So the empath will be there to worship God. The empath will be in their family because, they are a little child and they're really just, trying to shine the light. And so the narcissist will identify this person, and then they will begin to target them because, once again, this person is a threat to the narcissistic dark matrix. This person is a threat to whatever system, whatever sleeping pod system that the narcissistic dark matrix has going on. You understand? So that's why the empath get targeted. And of course, to you, they'll tell you it's because you are weak. They'll say we are doing this and this and that to you because you are so sensitive, you take everything personally, you are so weak, you are so this and that. But in true reality, all of that is a lie. It's a gaslight. There is nothing that a narcissist says that's true. Everything that a narcissist will be telling you, if it's ever true, it's true by accident. And also understand that the reason why it's true is not because they were trying to enlighten you in any way. It's because they were trying to attack you, for some reason. You understand? It's never coming from a good place. So you are not weak if you're an empath. You're not weak, because of your kindness. This world that we are living in, it's so upside. How you see that we live in an upside down world is where people begin to see you as weak just because you are kind. It's like, but like, what world, what earth, what planet is this where being kind is a weakness or is a wrong thing in any way? I understand that, yes, wrong things at wrong times and all of those things. But like, how is it that we should see kindness, like genuine, authentic kindness, as a bad thing, as a weakness of all things? So you're not weak because you like to smile. I don't believe so. Like, what kind of a world is this that sees such things as a weakness, though? Like, what kind of people this that sees when you smile, you are spreading love, you are spreading goodness, and then people will come and say, "Don't smile a lot. You can't always be smiling because if you're always smiling, that means you are weak." I get it. Like, here's the thing: it's true in a narcissistic dark matrix. That's what's happening. Okay, so it's not true in that it's right. It's true in that it's factual. In a narcissistic dark matrix, when you smile, narcissists, they want to attack you for smiling. When you are kind, when you are happy, narcissists want to attack you for that because, once again, you are shining the light, and it's a problem to them. You understand? But what kind of a world is that? What kind of a world is that where now you can't spread positive vibes because narcissists are going to be attacking you? People often say your empathy makes you weak. How can empathy make you weak when it's the most prized possession you have? Do you understand that one of the reasons why you are a big threat to narcissists is because of the empathy? Like, empathy, empathy. Without empathy, you're not going to be able to heal from narcissistic abuse. Okay. Empathy is what helps you. It's the power that heals you from narcissistic abuse. Because empathy is not just a feely touchy thing. Empathy is not just you being oversensitive. Empathy is a spiritual gift. Empathy is the gift of spirit of cognizance and clairsentience, among many other things. Empathy is the ability to generate energy, light, information, connection to source. You are able to extract what you need, the life force energy from the invisible forces of life. It's empathy that gives you that. So you're able to recharge because of empathy, because you're able to draw what you need from God, from life. It's empathy that enables you that. Empathy is the stuff of Christ, is the essence of Christ in a human being. That's why I say to you, if you're an empath, you are blessed with the essence of Christ like nobody, like nothing you've ever known before. And so empathy is what does that for you. Empathy is what helps you to connect to the higher forces of life. All right. Empathy is what helps you to connect, not just any spirit that's just hovering around all over this place here. Empathy enables you to reach to the highest, spiritual beings. You understand? So when you are connecting with angelic beings and all of those, empathy is what opens those doors for you. All right. So that's what empathy is. You cannot reach God without the Christ. And empathy is the essence of Christ in man. You don't need even to know the word Christ or the name Christ. You might not even know anything about Christianity. But if you know empathy, you know Christ without even knowing Christ's name. Because when you connect spiritually through empathy, what happens is that you begin to access all the information that you need to be receiving with regards to the finished works of Christ without even knowing anything, without having had even read a single line in the Bible. You begin to reflect Christ within yourself. And if you're an empath, when you were a child, you would know that there was something about you that really stood out. All right. There's something about you that really, really knew who you were until this world then started tainting you and started remolding you and literally reconditioning you so that you can fit its mold. But you've always been a square peg in a round hole. And it's this empathy. And so they had to kill Christ, they had to kill Jesus for the empathy because it was too much of a light shining in a dark space. But now, the Christ himself has become that light that's shining all over the world, all around earth right now. And so the more you light up that empathy within yourself and you use it for what it's meant for, because it's never been meant to be fed upon by narcissists. And you begin to use that as a powerful gift within yourself to help you with the ascension, because that empathy is the light of God within you that is just flickering. And it's helping humanity ascend. It's bringing about this new earth as well. That's what the empathy is doing. It's doing so much more. But this is all I can share with you for today. Soul Tribe. That's empathy there. And so everywhere you go, everywhere you are that light, the light of the world. It's the empathy in you, the light of the world. All right. And so the narcissists are able to see that and they have an issue with it. Okay, for survival reasons. Okay. So, but that's as much as I can go with regards to the narcissistic cult systems that we are living in. I hope I've shared as much as necessary. Soul Tribe, if you have any question, you are welcome to post it here in the comment section, and then I will answer it in the next video that I'll be, the next live video that I'll be doing. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I really appreciate your presence. You kept me company, and it was really fun. All right, and also the information that's coming through is coming through because you're asking for it. Okay, so thank you so much, Soul Tribe. Until next time, remember, consciousness, or shall we say, Christ consciousness, is the new frontier. Namaste.